Day 5 of Saints training camp is a wrap, and today was the very first day that they are in pads, which means it is time for real football to start. And it looks like the Saints might have found another diamond in the rough, undrafted free agent wide receiver. Let's talk about it. Let's start off with some attendance news from John Hendricks. You see, it says, did not see Marshon Latimore today. Didn't really expect him back anyway. And DA actually spoke on that, and we'll talk about that in a second. And also, Brian Bresee and Kendre Miller were observers. They did not practice, so both of them obviously are still hurt. In terms of Marshon Latimore's injury, you can see Dennis Allen actually spoke on it. He says, it's concerning, but I'm not losing a lot of sleep over it right now. Okay, I guess maybe in the future he'll lose sleep over it. I don't know. But he says that he hopes Latimore returns sooner than later. Now, this is a staple in DA's coaching vocab. He likes to say this sooner than later a lot. And a lot of times when he says this, it ends up not being sooner, but it ends up being later. Hopefully that's not the case with, Latimore. But if he does have to miss time, it isn't anything new to the Saints. He's missed a lot of games over the last couple years. The Saints actually, with drafting Kool-Aid McKinstry, they are, as of now at least, equipped to, maybe offset the loss of him, at least for a little while. But obviously he's a great player and he makes the Saints defense so much better when he's on the field. But it is nice having a little bit of depth at that position. Another injury we had today was guard Nick Salivary, which sucks for him because he's competing for a starting job, right, at that left guard position. He's competing with Lucas Patrick, I believe, and now with Salivary coming out with a calf injury, who knows how severe that is, but that opens the door for a guy like Lucas Patrick to get those, first team reps and win the job. So again, I know the Saints had pretty high hopes for him and, thought he had a lot of potential. So hopefully he can bounce back and get back in the rotation, getting those reps, competing for a starting job, because as of right now, that left guard, competition is wide open. Another hot topic at practice today was Chase Young. Now, Dennis Allen says that Chase Young was cleared by the doctors on 8/22. He obviously means July 22nd, and it accelerated his timeline. And by all accounts, Chase Young had a pretty good day of practice. You can see here Luke Johnson says Chase Young participated in team drills for the first time today. He looked explosive and powerful to me. And Luke wasn't the only reporter that thought that. You can see here Kat Terrell says, big day today for Chase Young. He progressed to team drills and got a few reps with the backups. Despite being away from the game for so long, it was a clear, obvious mismatch when he went against the backup tackles. He looks in shape and looked extremely quick coming off of the ball. And there were multiple other reporters that said the same thing about Chase Young today as well, said that he looked good and that he looked explosive. And Dennis Allen even said that Chase Young got a little too close to the quarterback for him on the first play with a bull rush. Definitely stood out, and it was only a handful of team reps, John Hendricks says. So good to see Chase Young back healthy and participating on the very first day of pads, because obviously when the Saints signed him, he was dealing with the neck injury stuff, and it was kind of an unknown, but obviously they had a plan, and so far the plan has worked out. And then there's this clip here from Ross Jackson. It's Cam Jordan showing Chase Young how to do a drill. Anytime, of course, you can learn from a guy like Cam Jordan, who is a future Hall of Famer, you take that opportunity, and it looks like that's what Chase Young did. So I thought it was pretty cool to see, Cam coaching up Chase Young. Last thing I want to talk about is undrafted free agent wide receiver Mason Tipton. It looks like he is impressing a lot of people at Saints training camp. You can see here, Luke Johnson says, another day, another big play from undrafted free agent wide receiver Mason Tipton. Hauled in a big gain downfield from Jake Hayner and got the offense hyped up. Now, Mason Tipton is the same receiver who a couple days ago caught a really long pass down the field from Spencer Rattler that also, received praise from everybody. And Dennis Allen even actually spoke on him as well. You can see from Nick Underhill, it says DA said that Mason Tipton reminds him of Chris Harris in Denver. Harris was an unknown guy and just kept making plays and earned an opportunity. Tipton is doing the same here. Obviously, Chris Harris was a cornerback back in the day when Dennis Allen was the defensive coordinator for the Broncos. Turned out to have a really, really good career. Actually, recently played for the Saints, but was obviously past his prime then. But for him, for DA to give that kind of praise to an undrafted free agent wide receiver like Mason Tipton, to compare him to a guy like Chris Harris, obviously he has the head coach's attention. So that's one to look out for. And, the behind Rashid Shaheed, Olave, and A.T. Perry, that wide receiver 4 spot is wide open. You got guys like Mason Tipton and Stanley Morgan and St. Brown and a couple other guys competing for that wide receiver 4 spot. And right now, I don't know, it's looking like Mason Tipton might be in the lead for it. But a lot of camp left, a lot of practices left until we get to the actual games. So we'll see.